In this episode, I'm going to share with you a conversation that I had, and we kind of go over a whole bunch of stuff, including how all of this somatic stuff works in therapy, how to kind of conceptualize some of this somatic pieces and how this could work in therapy. We talk about safety, we talk about the importance of being vulnerable and how that could actually help someone to get unstuck, even though we don't really want to be vulnerable. My name is Justin Sunseri. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist that thinks the world needs a new paradigm for mental health. Welcome to Stuck Not Broken. This episode is not therapy and it's not clinical consultation, but we do talk a lot about therapy and we do talk about clinical stuff as well. So we just want you to listen in. But this is just general thoughts from myself and from the people involved. So one of those people involved, her name is Jenna. I'm going to put a link in the description to her social media. Her name is Jenna Ham, and she's a therapist working out of Canada. The other person in this is named Sandra. She is just basically amazing. She's my super fan, my superist super fan, I would say. She has been extremely supportive. She comes to all my open Q&As. This is an open, or I guess it used to be called open Q&As, but now I call it open office hour, and I want to change the name of that too. But she comes to these, and these are for anybody who's already purchased my Building Safety Anchors course or my Polyvagal 101 course. If you've purchased the courses, you can come to these open office hours and ask general questions. So that's what this is, but really these have kind of become more just discussion. There is a lot of Q&A, but there's also just discussion. And so these two individuals let me record this and they're okay with me sharing this. And if you want to be a part of this, check out my Polyvagal 101 or my Building Safety Anchors course. But in the meantime, hey, just enjoy this episode.
So as Justin, I've been in the moving process for I don't know. It's not just the moving process. It's the preparing, finding a place, finding the RV, finding a place, coordinating everything, doing the move, and now I'm finally getting to a point where I'm starting to feel like I'm settling a little bit. A lot has been eliminated from my life in order to accomplish this and kind of do this. So what I am recognizing is that I have been in complete task mode for a couple of months, 4 months. The task mode has caused me to disconnect from my feelings, and unless they become extreme and overwhelming. And then, so my question is, when a person is in task mode to the degree that I have been, like fully, where am I on the polyvagal ladder? I'm going to take a guess, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, in general. So if I mean, I've moved. I remember moving numerous times. My wife and I would move at least once a year for years, and that was in college and before settling down here in Stockton. But we had bounced around, not just like home to home, but like city to city for years, and it was never feeling quite settled, never having our own place that felt like home. And even now, we haven't fully decorated the house, so it still feels like we're kind of living in someone else's house in some ways, you know. But anyhow, so as far as like moving goes and not really settling, I don't think I would call it like we're in flight fight. I think I would say that we're getting to those mobilized states, but hopefully while safe. So hopefully we feel that flight fight kind of stuff. So we feel the energy, but we're motivated, we're going the right direction. And so I wouldn't call that playfulness either. I guess there could be elements of it. Just in general, though, yeah, you're kind of like taxing the system. You're always on. But as long as you're accessing your safety state, it's not like you're actually running away or fighting. You know what I mean? So I would say that system's probably more on. Those are my thoughts. Those are my immediate thoughts.
Okay. So, so my thoughts were, that's interesting because now I'm kind of like combining it with what my thoughts were because of kind of taking my feelings and putting them aside. I don't have time for you right now. Like, again, unless it's extreme, unless I'm in complete overwhelm, which I had been a couple of times. There's an element of shutdown for me. So I'm wondering if it fits into one of those combination kind of states that you talk about. My concern of this is coming out of this fight flight, yes, shutdown combination, coming out of it. I'm trying to pay attention to like where I am on the ladder, so that I don't tank.
I got you. Yeah. So I mean, what you're describing is a potentially like a mixed state. So and Jen, if you want to chime in, please do so. But if you have any thoughts you want to share. But yeah, if we have high flight fight along with this immobility, that's a mixed state. That's what I had interviewed Porges, and that's what he had said to me was I asked, like, well, what happens if you immobilize while highly charged up? And he says, well, that's really freeze, and freeze is different than shutdown. So freeze is a mixed state, as best I understand it, as I've been teaching it. And from what I see in my clients and whatnot, it seems like freeze is a unique thing. So immobility doesn't mean necessarily that we're forced to immobilize it. Obviously it can, but immobility can also be like a perceived, like nothing's going to get better, just sort of generalized, I think. And it kind of sucks the energy out of you. When you try and you fight so hard, and then at some point you just kind of like, I work with teenagers who, with their parents, come from these very dysfunctional homes that don't have co-regulation, don't have healthy relationships. And as kids, like, you're born to connect, and you will not consciously, but you'll biologically just continually keep trying to connect. And the more time goes on, it kind of just wears the system down. And so I work with teenagers now who are at that point where they can consciously, cognitively say, like, I'm giving up, but really their biology is kind of like, I can't, it's not going to happen. And it's not this healthy boundaries moving on kind of thing. It's more of this just collapsed shutdown kind of giving up. And so it's not a conscious thing. It's like after a certain amount of time, whatever that is for that person, we do sort of go into this immobilized energy where we just sort of like we just collapse. And so we could have that along with, we could have a general flavor of that along with a general flavor of flight fight as well. And so maybe day to day, and this could maybe be someone's job as well, maybe day to day we do have, or maybe during a certain experience, there is this high intensity need, like moving, but also it's extremely, maybe we lose hope along the way or something like that. And so I could see there being an element of shutdown in there. So we have this sort of like tense energy stuck inside of us, but we're sort of immobilized and paralyzed with it kind of in there. So I could see that being like a mixed state. You might hear kids screaming in the background. That's my son playing with my wife.
Yeah.
just heads up.
You know how I feel about that,
I
right?
do. I know. Yeah. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, there were multiple times where I would say, what the hell have I done? Because where I was like very contained, inexpensive. Like, I mean, like, I have increased my my housing expenses by several $100s a month. It was very contained. It was very safe.
Yeah.
And yet I was feeling squeezed out. And so there's that, I feel like I'm up and down on a ladder. And what have I done? Yet I'm still moving forward.
Yeah, I got you. Jen, you want to jump in? Any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, just the way you were describing it, I was thinking of, because I talk about that a lot. I think a lot of people live this way, like just sympathetic shutdown, like this, right? You're in sympathetic 8 hours a day, you come home and you shut down, and then, right? And then, but eventually, usually that kind of, we end up with some issues over time. So I was just thinking, like, well, what if you like did something with that energy outside of just tasks of moving and decorating and all unpacking and all that stuff, like just with the energy to mobilize towards safety. So I have a bit of a tendency to enjoy mobilization strategies over like stillness type strategies. So, but it seems like that would be a helpful thing to do. Like truly at the end, when you're done, whatever you're going to do for the day, like dancing for 5 minutes or doing some jumping jacks, like really just like getting that energy, that sympathetic energy out, so that maybe you shift up instead of shifting down as like an automatic reaction, an automatic like collapse reaction to go into that like energy conservation mode, and instead like real rest, right? Real restoration in a ventral vagal state. That makes sense.
Jenna, are you a therapist?
Yes.
I see those documents on her wall. And I hear it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting though, Jenna. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's interesting that I tend to lean toward like stillness as a way to, but that's just for my system,
Right.
And but yeah, you're right. Like I know dance and singing and all that stuff can be helpful for people, right? But it's like, I know for my system, I gravitate toward, let me just like stop and let me just be still and let my energy gather back inside. But that probably says a lot more about kind of where we're at in the ladder, what works best for us and whatnot, right? Do you, with your work with your clients, do you see like sometimes stillness kind of fits, sometimes mobilization just kind of fits?
So I'm a trauma therapist. So like my primary modalities are EMDR and internal family systems. So usually people come to me with quite a bit of trauma, like complex trauma. And then I work with Indigenous folks and like residential school survivors. So I actually, and I don't know, it's hard to say. I'm like, am I just like, is it me leaning towards it? Because I'm definitely a sympathetic person. Like that's where, if I'm going to get into a defensive state, it's going to be sympathetic. And just my history, there's a lot of like immobilization type traumas. So stillness can be very activating for me if I don't kind of do some movement first. So I'm always like, am I leaning towards this because it's fine?
Right.
Or like, but I also find in my clients that they just find mobilizing strategies, at least in the beginning of doing nervous system work, tends to be a lot more accessible, right? So the idea of like slowing down your breath and just like long exhales for 5 minutes is just like, can't do it.
That's
right?
hard. Yeah, it's hard.
They'd rather do something like Wim Hof, actually, if we're going to do breath work, like do something quick to like discharge that energy and then they feel better. So I don't know. That's what I find just with myself and my clients, but I don't know. Like I don't know if we could put a poll out somewhere and see like what do people gravitate towards,
Yeah, I think for me, since I gravitate towards stillness, my home away from home is easily shut down, and I find a lot of comfort in being alone and being still, and that's very much a shutdown thing. And so I think I personally just kind of gravitate that way. I think I can meet my clients in the moment with like more energized, and I kind of feel where they're at. But yeah, I think my inclination is personally just more that way. Yeah, but I think it's an interesting discussion. All right, so Sandra, when it comes to you said like moving and whatnot and having like life changes. I know for us in our home right now, we have a house that is not level, and we have to bring out this leveling crew, whatever it is, and it's a huge expense. And we've brought out 3 different companies who have 3 different ideas, 3 different measurements. Somehow, I would think measuring things would be the simplest, most concrete, agreed upon thing that 3 different entities could do. And you would think there'd be some sort of, here's the solution, but somehow there's 3 different ideas, 3 different, like they're worlds apart too. So like that feeling of helplessness on our part, like we don't know, we can't measure, we have no idea what this remedy is, we don't have the tools, we have nothing. So like with I think kind of with what you're saying, part of this is, what do we have control over? And yeah, we do control where we move in a sense. We do kind of control where we choose to move, I guess. But there's also just looming things that kind of hang over us, like debt. We have a lot of debt, or looming things like rent, increased expenses. And now all of a sudden we have this huge new expense coming in that's really kind of not settled, like our house. And so that like that weight, like it weighs down and you feel it. And it's like my wife and I have talked about this, and it's like you just like it feels like we're just suffocating in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So even though we have a safe home, safe neighborhood, we love our house. Along with that comes this like, oh my God, it's very, I don't know the right word. It's very weighted, very a lot of pressure. But there's
Yeah.
kind of like a shutdown. It's like a sort of shutdown immobilization kind of in there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
along with the stress of the situation. And oh my God, are we going to be able to take this debt on and deal with all this stuff?
Yeah, I also have a situation with leveling. And
In your new home?
yeah,
Oh,
because I'm literally on the dirt, right? I'm on in the woods, so that's not level. And so these RVs have a leveling system. So I hired a guy to come out and set up my RV. First of all, he comes without the right tools right off the top. He leaves telling me my RV's 2 inches off, and I feel it. My cupboards feel it, my refrigerator, I feel it. And so here I was. I trusted a guy who we kind of connected because of a life situation that he has experienced. And so we kind of connected with that. So I did not check my discernment and I trusted him to do his job right. Right? And so
yeah.
now, and I know you can identify with this, now I'm trying to make the phone calls to deal with other people who I am randomly trusting to come out and fix it. Like, I don't know if what they're telling me is true. I don't know if they're going to actually fix it or if they're just going to come out and putter around and then charge me $500, which is in my mind, that's what I think they're going to take advantage of me, right? So I literally am stuck in it. Like, it has to be done, but until I feel confident that I have the right questions, then I can't move forward with it. And I've even got, like, I am not a Facebook person at all, but I have gone on the Facebook groups that are stationary RV living and asked all these questions. And again, I'm getting a variety of input. So it's like so freaking overwhelming. Yeah. So there's that. And then trying to move toward the feeling of being safe in being in my home in a place that is mine, by over being overly motivated to get it done. This is the thing is like I recognize all of this and I just don't want to tank. That's where I'm at. So I want to kind of like incrementally identify what is going on and see if I can manage it. And in speaking to Jenna in the being like dancing or singing or that, so that triggers me because if I release the energy, it could take me out of control. Right now I'm in this really what I perceive as a safe containment, but is not necessarily. But so by experiencing, my body like that or my voice like that, then it there's that fear of the losing my don't want to do that.
Yeah, like it's no, I feel the same way when it comes to it. And Jen, I definitely want to hear from you, but when it comes to movement, I like movement. Dancing like in particular does not feel safe for me. I hate it. I'll be the one person at the wedding not dancing and I'll be fine. I don't care. I will not dance. Maybe a slow dance. But other things like playing catch is so peaceful for me. I love it. It brings me so much sense of just being grounded in the moment. Going swimming, I love it. I love it. I love it. So I don't think it's an issue of like just dance. I think it's an issue of what type of movement feels the right for you, and especially in that moment, in that state that you're in. Jenna, you feel the same way?
Yeah. So what I found helpful, because I get that, like I probably still have a lot of sympathetic survival stress like stored, right? So I get that it can feel like, oh, if I start, I'm never going to stop.
Yeah.
What I actually find is like containing for me is there's a few like cool programs. My favorite one is called The Class. It's like this, it's like a workout program, but you don't use any equipment. It's just really your body. And so it's kind of like in and out. So you'll do controlled movements like squats, and then you'll just kind of shake it out and move. And there's like an element, I think, of co-regulation, because it's often live classes. Like, so it's a virtual thing, but it's often live. So you feel like you're doing it with someone. And then there's like, you stop when the song is over, you stop, and then you go back to something that's like more controlled. And then, so it's this kind of like, maybe you'd call that pendulation in a way, right?
Yeah.
In and out of like what feels a bit like, whoo, just let it go, to back to something that you are in control of.
I like that actually. Like that sounds like, for me, my system actually sounds pretty doable.
Yeah, it's great. It's intense. Like it seems really easy. Like when I first did it, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do some weights afterwards. And I didn't. And I woke up the next day and like could barely move. So it's actually a crazy hard workout, but you don't realize it's like a lot of fun, and it just feels like such a good like nervous system exercise, really.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
They have two on YouTube that are free. So one's like a half-hour class and one's 10 minutes. The 10-minute one is more like just like a discharging, like a shaking it out, kind of stomping your feet around type thing. But yeah, I wonder if something like that would make it feel a little more like contained, and there's that element of co-regulation. And
yeah, it's guided, like you're led. I like that.
Yeah, or even yoga. Like there's a yoga named Brett Larkin. She's got some like, it's not really like yoga moves, it's just like emotional release type stuff. So again, like 10 to 15 minutes of just, like swaying your arms back and forth, or, whatever, like these kind of discharging type movements. Yeah.
What is her name?
Brett, Brett, and then Larkin, Larkin. So there's a few. I think the one I like the best is called emotional release, or something. Maybe somatic release. I'm not sure.
I like that. I like the bringing that in, the importance of having it not be this free for all, or like now it's all on you, just start dancing kind of thing. But no, there's guided, and the pendulating aspect of it, the co-regulation, all of that can build a really effective potential release, but just kind of settling, but also mobilizing in a safe way. Like I think all those pieces are really important. I like that.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention too is like there's like a pause in between all the like higher energy. So you just pause and like put your hand on your chest and breathe, and like take your heart rate back down, and then go back in. So it's just it's really well designed. Yeah, it's awesome.
I think it's really an issue of what feels doable and safe. If it's triggering out of control, I don't think it's helpful. But if it's slightly triggering, but you can tolerate it and work your way through it, and you have co-regulation, that's actually can be very helpful, as long as you can help build that window of tolerance. So it's like what just feels the best for you. So like I said, playing catch or going swimming in the summertime, for me, I actively will utilize those as ways of self-regulating, or even co-regulating with my kids. But it's not, I think it's like, that's the thing, is like what feels doable, but even maybe challenging. What can you feel your stuff through? You know what I mean? So if I'm in a fight state, I can go swimming and like stand there and use my hands to like push against the water, and I can feel, not my hands, but not just my hands, I can feel my whole upper body flexing while I have more of that aggressive fight state in me. And that's a way for me, I can feel it. I'll say discharging, that's the right word, but settling, I'll say that. And I can feel myself more in my safety state and able to connect with my kids and play in the pool with them. But first, I have to just address this sort of aggressive energy I have inside of me that, that was there,
So I've sort of like, when I teach this to my clients, I like conceptualize interventions in two ways. So first, entry point. So I'm like, there's autonomic nervous system entry points, there's somatic entry points, limbic system entry points, and then cognitive entry points.
As far as interventions, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like I group them into those four categories.
Yeah.
Sort of explain like, you know, which I say like the closer you are to the autonomic nervous system, the better usually, but whatever's accessible. End of story, right? Like if all you have is like you can work with your thoughts and work with your thoughts, even though they might be a little far away from your nervous system. So I have that, and then I also split them into these two categories of like being with distress and then mobilizing distress. So being with strategy, I would consider things like orienting, right? So if you're like, okay, you come home from a day, you realize you're like totally activated and you're going to orient your environment. I think about that as like you're adding in a cue of safety by noticing your home and there's all your furniture and there's your dog, and you're just needing to like wait and like feel the energy shift towards safety, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's more of grounding in using the physical environment as a way to stay present, and then does that also involve feeling whatever's happening inside? And then the shift happens?
Yeah, there's sort of that, like the way that I would teach orienting is like that back and forth of like what's happening in your environment and what's happening in your body.
Gotcha, yeah.
Body. So like there's a lot of that, and like there's same with what I would call like limbic system interventions, or maybe you look up a picture of nature, or like if you're at work and you're stressed, look at a picture of your kids or something, right? So like these like little things that turn on safety pathways, but they don't like, but I think about that, like taking a bit of time to shift.
Sorry, my son is sneaking a paper under my door.
Oh, that's okay.
We want to see.
Hey, Jay, come here. Do you want to show us what you made? He's 6. What did you make?
Nice.
Pretty awesome. She said nice. Yeah, thumbs up. There you go.
You know what's crazy? My son is only a year younger than you, and he's been making those all morning. The exact same thing.
Hey, Jay. She says her son's been making those all morning, too. Isn't that cool? Yeah. All right. Thank you for showing me that. Super cool, Jay. I got a dog in here. I got a kid in here. Oh, thank you, buddy. Thank you. Hey, can you take Ginger out of here? Thank you. Jenna, I'm sorry. Once the doors open, the dogs come in.
Okay. I love it.
I apologize. Can you please pick it up where you left off? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just sort of like, that's how I explain it, is that there's like, you can add in safety cues, knowing that it's like, it may not turn off the activation instantly.
Yeah.
Just stay with the safety cue and stay with the energy as it discharges, ideally. That's sort of my sense of my being with type strategies, whether that's slow breathing, orienting, looking at the picture, smelling the thing, whatever. And then would be more like a lot of somatic stuff, faster paced breathing. I guess, usually like movement, breath, right?
I'm with you.
So that makes sense to you? That's
totally, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I like how you framed it though. And there's a lot of things that I do that it seems like you started like naming, and like I'll know, like sometimes I work with thoughts, sometimes I work more with whatever's presenting itself that could be like latched onto and explored or whatever. And then my goal is to, if we start from thoughts, my goal is to always work. In my mind, it's like levels. So from thoughts to feelings, from feelings to more somatic kind of sensations inside. And it sounds like I refer to that as like, that's like nervous system level kind of stuff. Yeah. That we're feeling those like raw emotion, or not emotion, but sensations. Yeah. Like tightness or tingling or all those things. So my goal is to kind of work down in my levels, I call it, or the way I framed it. But I like how you named it entry points. Yeah. So I like that kind of like that framework of it. But yeah, everything you said makes total sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I do. I think about it in levels too, right? Like.
Okay.
And I tend to sort of think, like, just in terms of what my understanding of neurobiology, that sort of like from the limbic system down is usually where like bigger shifts happen, right? And then when you start to do like behavioral and cognitive change, it's like those are helpful, but sometimes, you know, I tend to think of those as more like, well, those are the reflections of your state.
Yes.
Right? Like where like we use that as good data that you're either like not in a safe state or you are, right? We just observe those things, and I don't tend to promote like intervening at those levels. But I like, you know, I do use cognition, but yeah.
You know, I think it can be helpful, and sometimes like I work with teens that they can do school, they might lack motivation, and yeah, is some, you know, there could absolutely be some of those levels involved, but sometimes it's like, dude, just do your schoolwork. Like you can do it, and you need that sort of like verbal kick in the butt, or just that encouragement. Maybe that's more co-regulative, but it's like, oh, okay, fine, I'll do it. But that rarely happens. But sometimes it is just like, just stop doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's very low level kind of intervention.
But yeah, because like there's one guy I've been working with him off and on since like 2018, I think, and like he just won't do anything. He just will not. Like it's like I've tried and I'm almost, you know, and I've like recommended other types of approaches and therapists. He's gone to the treatment centers, like he's done so much. So I'm like, you're so motivated, seemingly like you're so persistent. You want to get better. Just like, I can't. Right. And like, I feel like we had a really hard session. We actually didn't rebook for a bit. And then I just saw him this week and we're all good again. I wasn't sure if he was going to come back. Cause I kind of was like, man, you just have, you know it all. Like I've given you everything I've got. You know it all. Like you just have to do it. I know it can seem way too simple to work, but just 5 minutes a day of something, just anything, just it's like I don't have any other tricks. All I have left is tough love.
I think there's value to tough love. Sandra, you're a nanny. I don't know if you work with the younger ones though, but I think there is value, especially with teenagers. And I find with my my male clients that tends to go a little bit farther to hear it from me, like a little bit of that, especially if they have there's certain roles like in the school, there's like security guards or a certain teacher that it's not therapy, and so they're able to get away with a lot more. I try to stay in my therapeutic stance, but other teachers and whatnot can just say, hey, like they'll just call them out on something and give them more of that tough love and like, no, you failed and this is the grade you get. And I think there's a lot of value in that, but as a therapist, I don't really do a ton of that at all. And even then I try to be pretty gentle about it.
Yeah.
It's more like gentle, tough love.
Yeah. And it's like, there's so much compassion. Like, I care so much. I want you to change too. I want your life to get better too. And I don't know, like if it means you not liking me anymore, I'm okay with that. Like, just go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of identify with the resistance and having a bad attitude. Like I can definitely identify that in myself much easier now that it's been pointed out to me for many, many years by my therapist, who definitely works the tough love on me because I'll just tell her no. I'll just flat out say, no, I'm not doing that. And so I
like
learned
that.
how
I'd appreciate that from a client. Like, just be honest. We'll find something that works. Just be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also helped me to identify just that, my resistance. Questioning, why am I saying no to I'm saying no to something I don't know what I'm saying no to. Like, just try it. And I even find myself in this situation that I even find myself saying, you need to normalize things again. I like to swim as well, so go back to the swimming. We have an indoor pool here, so it can be snowing outside and we still get to swim. So it's nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
And so go swim. I like quit taking my vitamins. What the heck? Right? I mean, I'm not being conscious of what I'm eating. As long as my belly's full and I'm not allowing myself to get hungry, then so it's all like opposite of how I typically manage my life. And I'm saying no to myself. And I was on a different kind of call earlier, and I even said in that call, look, I'm in a bad attitude. So I just let myself be in that bad attitude, and hopefully identifying it is going to help me shift it. Like, I feel it, and I know I need to shift it. And so.
No, I got you. Yeah. You mentioned, like, why am I resisting? And I know, like, when Jenna brought up dancing, immediately I'm like, nope, for me.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like, Jenna has knowledge that maybe I don't have, and Jenna has, if I was her client, she may have insight into me that I don't have. And so I think vulnerability can be, is that the right word? Vulnerability? It can be like, maybe I should just try it out. If I feel silly, so what? I'll do it by myself. I'm not going to record it and put it on the YouTube or anything. So what? Like, can we give ourselves permission to feel vulnerable, feel silly, feel stupid, feel ridiculous, and just kind of see what happens, And for me, my answer is typically no when it comes to that.
Yeah, because how safe is it,
Right. But at the same time, I'll dance with my kids. We'll have fun and goof off and dance and wrestle and all kinds of stuff. But for some reason, in social settings with adults, hell no. With even by myself, just thinking about doing that, I'm like, it's not exactly hell no, but it's the flavors there of hell no.
Well, there's a measurement. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm talking about this morning too, and I have been actually for a while. So I have one client in particular who literally every session she's like, I almost canceled, and then I realized what I was doing. Like, I was trying to resist this, and it's funny because for the longest time, every night before my therapy sessions with my therapist, I would have insomnia, and I would like, I was so resistant to even linking the two. Like, she was like, you curious about that, and I was like, there's no reason to. It has nothing to do with it. Like, for me, that's my like, oh no, because she's just like, yeah, how does that feel in your body? Tell me about your emotions. I'm like, no, like, listen to my story about it is great. Like, I can talk about it.
A great story.
She's basically like,
yeah,
Jenna, what's your body doing right now? I'm like, don't worry about it. So I think there's just, we all have resistance to those, to change and to new things.
Right.
Either things that are new or things that have been dangerous in the past, right? There's like resistance, even though like I know it's good for me. Like, I know I need to feel what's in my body. I know I need to feel my way through those memories and all these things. But it's not, it doesn't mean that I like it. It doesn't mean
no, yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of figuring out, like, is this like just a full body no because it's not my thing, or am I resisting?
Right.
That's like meaningful change, and am I afraid what's on the other side of that change? I feel like that's too, where that client I was talking about, where he like doesn't want to do anything. Like, I think like his life has essentially gotten like his world has gotten so small, and he's like taken care of, and no one expects him to work, and it's like there's a lot of sort of benefits to him remaining very depressed. And I think it's like that there's a fear, like, well, if I get well and I have energy, then people won't financially support me, and then I'm gonna have to work, and then I'm gonna have to, like interact with the world again, which would be really scary after 2 years of being really isolated, right? Even more isolated than we've all been. I think there's like lots of layers.
Absolutely.
Resistances, yeah.
Absolutely. I work for a school district, right? And I have a salary and I have hours, very predictable, very, very safe, very kind of mundane at times, but there's comfort in that. But I've been building up my private practice, and I'm getting another delivery under my door. I've been building up my private practice at nighttime, working with adults, and now I'm going to start opening up a Saturday, hopefully very soon, which that appointment is tomorrow. Oh my God, I just panicked that I forgot that appointment. No, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll check it. Jade, not right now. I'll check it later. Okay. Love you. Can you close the door and get Ginger out of here again?
You need a sign, Justin. A sign.
That did not work. I tried that.
Open, closed.
It was actually his idea too. I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea. I put it up there. We made it together. He colored it in. No, you have to be on the other side of the door. I'll check that out when I'm done in 15 minutes. Okay.
Oh, he's working.
Love you.
Yeah, my son is a stage 5 clinger too. He's just I love it. I'm probably going to be devastated the day.
I know. Yeah.
So
we were watching America's Funniest Videos last night, and he and I were just cuddling, and that's not going to be there forever. And sometimes it's a bit much, but sometimes I really appreciate it, So, what was I saying? Oh, so I'm opening up a Saturday. So I'm expanding, and I know my goal is to stop my salary job and go full-time into private practice and course selling and whatnot. But there's a lot of tension, apprehension that comes along with, I feel that, of like, oh my God, can I handle it? Can I handle it 2 days in a row and 3 days in a row? And can I do it again the next day? And so there's all this like tenseness and fight kind of energy. And I would say probably more flight, because instead of fighting it, I'm like, no, I'll just slow it down. So I know my goal, but there's also a lot of stuff that comes along with that takes me out of my comfort zone. And right now I'm very much in a comfort zone.
Yeah. That's so interesting, because I'm like such a, like I said, a sympathetic person. So I graduated I finished like my last paper and like basically resignated I worked in child welfare for almost 10 years. And like literally like almost the same day or same week, I just like quit and jumped into private practice full time, 6 days a week, actually.
Did you really?
Yeah. I just went
after 10 years of child welfare.
Yeah.
Wow. And you've been okay, or is it?
Great. I was full within a month, and I've basically had a wait list ever since. It's like, you'll be fine. And
I know, and everyone in my area is like, yeah, we have too many clients. We need people here, and we need male therapists. And I'm like, okay, I'll get there eventually. I'm getting there.
Yeah, no,
I used to
impulsive person, I guess, but it's worked out fine. I'm
That's
sure.
Great.
Your social media, I don't know if you can work out with people outside of your state.
No.
No, same. Yeah. So that kind of sucks, but still, like, really, I live in a pretty small city. It's never been an issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate the encouragement. Thank you. I need it.
Well, you're good at what you do, Justin. And
thank you.
Yeah. So I think it'll be okay. I used to say to my children, sometimes I need to listen to my own words. When I would ask them to do something and I don't want to, I don't like it. And I would say to them, well, you might not like it, but you need to do it anyway.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like matter of fact. You just need to do it anyway.
That's right. Behavioral level intervention there. Yeah, you just got to do it.
Just the thing. Yeah.
I should add that to my little like spiel that I give like my new clients just at the end. And there's behavioral, and you just have to do it. I don't care if you don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's just for like a minute, even if it's just, and then the comfort level, it's like, for me, meditation is just so hard for me. And I don't feel like I have to clear my mind, but it's about sitting with it. It's about sitting at all, sitting still, being still.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. And it's many times triggering, and it's many times super uncomfortable. So I've had to learn how to have parameters around it, know that that it's not just about the 5 or 10 minutes that I sit sit still. It's a matter of, I need to prepare myself, like take 20 minutes to maybe go for a walk, kind of process what I'm going to do next, then do it, and then have some time afterwards. It's like how I do my art too, right? So so that it's full spectrum. It's not just doing that one thing.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to do those activating things. Like if I were just to get up and dance right now, it would not, I just, so much of me would say no. But the fact that we're laughing and talking about it, like honestly, as you were talking in my mind, I'm like, maybe I'll try dancing for a minute. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to record it. But I'm in a better state to do so because I've been interacting, and even though it's on screens, there's a level of co-regulation. We're sharing laughter and smiles, and so I'm more able to do something that's otherwise a complete no for me. And I think same thing with meditation, or like when I do therapy, a lot of it's mindfulness, and we're looking inward and we're naming feelings and things that are difficult to do. But I find that when people can first ground themselves in safety, and it's something as simple as, I find like memories to be really, really, really helpful, even for people who have a difficulty remembering a thing. There's usually a memory, there's something. And if I can be specific with like feelings like calm, happiness, playfulness, like, can you think of a time when you felt something along these lines? They'll go way, way, way back and say, yeah, when I was whatever. Like I had a client recently say, when I was 13, I would spend time on a farm. I remember walking through the asparagus field. So he had these concrete memories attached to safety and who he was with and what it felt like and his age. And so then I can ask him, like, can you feel those again now? And can you describe them right now on an emotional level? And then in your body, like, how do you feel in your body? How's your breathing right now? And so that takes 5 minutes, maybe. It can be, but that's a guided thing. It's in therapy. There's a co-regulation happening. So all these pieces help along with that, but it can be a pretty rapid thing. Like I know for me, if I was to want to meditate and like focus on something that's more difficult, I know if I think back to Little League playing outfield and just standing there in the grass and waiting for the ball to come to me, that feels fantastic. Like I can feel that peacefulness. I can remember being a pitcher and like winning a game. And so I can have these feelings come over me and then say, okay, now, I'm better prepared now to go see what else I have inside that might need to come up. So it's all about like grounding and safety first. And then once you can handle it, then feeling into the more difficult stuff, as long as you can maintain safety and balance it out and pendulate. So go back and forth. Like that's so, I think in my opinion, very, very essential to all of this somatic kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was just thinking like that's sort of that's like the EMDR process. That's like the 8 phase protocol, where like phase 2 is just a lot about those types of exercises. Like, either you identify a real calm place for you that you've been to, or you make one up if you don't have access to one.
Yeah.
That's like a really important one just to have. And sometimes I'm not generally like, I don't like to use it in memory processing, but sometimes you have to, right? So the metaphor is sort of like, hey, we're going on this like train ride, and if we need to get off at any time and go to your calm place, we can do that. But hopefully we can kind of get through it. But yeah, that's sort of the idea. Is like if you completely lose access to safety, you're not doing any good trauma work. You need to find that. Those need to be online. You need to be with the memory, not in it. So
yeah. And that's true for meditation as well, right? Just if you're doing your own solo meditation kind of thing, like, do you feel like it's true for that as well? To not get too far into whatever's stuck inside of you and then like losing access to safety, like that could be re-traumatizing, just like in therapy. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Yeah. I think, I tried the float tank one time and I don't know what I was thinking.
What is that?
The float, it's like sensory deprivation things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like 90 minutes of just like lying there and you float in this water. And I was like, why did I think? I actually handled it reasonably okay at the time, but I was pregnant. I was really tired. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, it is kind of crazy to think that we have these set up all over the city, because that's not very trauma informed. Like, how many people can really go there and just be present?
Where do you live? Where?
In Manitoba, Canada.
Oh, so they're all over the city? Like there's multiple places to find these?
Multiple different companies. I don't know how many locations. Not that many, but they're very accessible,
Wow.
And it is kind of an odd thing considering how many people I see struggle just to even do a guided meditation, never mind illness. And then you go here for 90 minutes. Like,
wow.
Right?
That's a long time.
90 minutes, yeah. That's longer than a therapy session.
Yeah.
Depends on who you're doing therapy with.
I guess so, yeah. I guess so.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, totally agree. I think there needs to be, for sure, always like like safety pathways. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just dissociating, and I talk about that too. Like, I get so frustrated with so much of like the social media therapy advice, like meditate and like maybe not ever actually, or not for a long time.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're activated and then you try to sit still. It's like the last thing your body wants to do. And if you're already shut down, you'll meditate. It's like you're just kind of like dissociating more.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
I don't know. Meditation, I feel like is it's like an end goal intervention.
That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take. I see where you're coming from.
One of the things that meditation has done for me, to me, kind of depends on, is is that it has allowed memories to come up that were suppressed. Right. And so it gave like open space for, and sometimes safe, sometimes not, but it's allowed some flow to happen. And so it's given me part of my story back. You know, visuals, experiences, and typically in the visual, and then comes the emotional, the sensory stuff comes. It's kind of like a two-edged sword for me. I want to remember because I want to heal, but I don't want to re-traumatize myself.
Yeah, right.
You know, and I've also learned that I'm not going to, that I'm safe in the moment. It's not happening to me right now, even though it feels like it. And that my feelings aren't going to kill me. Because I know those two things, it helps me, you know, be able to process what comes up and allow what comes up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that top-down cognitive, like that reframe. I think the way I kind of frame this is that in of itself is like you're telling your brainstem, hey, like we're okay. It's a top-down way of self-regulating. I think that can be really, really important. So like earlier we talked about behaviors and thoughts and whatnot, and there's absolutely a role for these things. They can be helpful. It's not the end game, but I think they can be helpful, just like you described.
Yeah. Well, and that's after years and years and years. That doesn't happen in the beginning.
No, you're right. You're right.
The memory thing is interesting. It's like it's a bit of a, I don't know, like warning maybe that I give you. I'm like, as you start to access safety more and more, and you spend more time there, like our systems are so brilliant. They will suppress things when they know that they're going to overwhelm us. So it's sort of like sometimes people think like, oh, if I'm having these difficult emotions come up, or if I'm having these memories, it means that I must be in a defensive state. And it's like, not always. Like you might be accessing safety, which is allowing these things to show up, right? So it's kind of tricky. It could be from shutdown, or it could be from activation, but you know, it might also just be that now you're spending a lot of time in safety, and now your system's like, great.
Yeah.
Here's some more Let's see what you do with it.
Thank you all for the very thought-provoking, fun, smiley, co-regulative discussion. You've gotten me an inch closer to maybe dancing by myself in the dark, secretly, never recorded, but for a minute, maybe, with some curiosity. So you got me that point, right?
And you don't have to tell anybody you did it.
Right.
Keep it to yourself.
Yes.
You can choose your favorite song.
Oh, music's involved too? I guess that makes
maybe
sense.
not. It doesn't have to be.
I guess if it works, if it helps me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If I have I may let the two of you know if you're here next month, if I want to. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right. Thank you both. This is fun.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin. Nice to meet you, Jenna.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.